सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं सुखमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयादितरतः चार्थेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः। तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि। धर्मप्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम्। श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषुभिस्तक्षणात्। In the third canto, Vidurji and Maitreyaji have moved slowly towards the 21st chapter. Before I proceed today, of the many probabilities, I have two options. Today, either I can complete as a flying visit to the next 15 chapters in today's 1.5 hours, or continue with Kapila Gita tomorrow. So, are you all open for tomorrow? Yes or a no? Okay, is there anybody saying no? Sunday है बाबा. अच्छा, तो वेब में देख लेना. The reason this is a very beautiful interaction which even the Lord mentions in the 4th chapter, that in the very beginning of the creation I gave this Sankhya Yoga, and that is this Sankhya Yoga which we will be dealing with. So tomorrow also we will be continuing from 7:30 to 9. So make your day, whatever has to be arranged. My day is set. So in the 21st chapter, Kardamji, not Kardamji, Vidurji comes to our Maitreya Rishi and says, you said that each one of the sons of Brahmaji started procreating and following the orders of the Blessed Father. See, Father always feels blessed when the sons kuch layak ban jaye. With the plan of schemes that have been there, expects that the son is in that plan. So Vidurji says, I am more interested in that particular son, Manu, Swayambhu Manu, who gave birth to two children, who was Priyavrata and Uttanapada, and then got married his daughters to the Prajapatis. I am more interested in learning about Devahuti, who got married to Kardama Prajapati. Their story is supposed to be so enchanting. Lord, I am interested in knowing about this Prajapati and his wife Devahuti. Of course, after that I am sure you will be dealing with the other stories of the other daughters. The one Ruchi married to Daksha Prajapati also will be covered by you. Now Maitreya is thinking, to teach somebody who does not know Bhagavat is very easy. You keep narrating the stories and with a wide mouth they keep hearing to it for the first time. To teach somebody who is so attuned to Bhagavatam that he knows nook and corners of Bhagavatam, but he is just listening to it because of love for the Lord. So Maitreya Rishi says, not that Maitreya Rishi does not like, he also loves. It was very rarely that you come across such a Shrota. Normally, it is a choice for the listener. Sometimes they are Shrota, sometimes they are Sota. But very rarely you come across a person who is so keen about knowing so many things in detail, especially anything to do with Lord and His Leela. So Maitreya says, Praja srujeti bhagavan kardamo brahmano ditaha saraswatyam tapastepe sahasranam samadasha tatas samadhi yuktena kriya yogena kardamaha samprapede harim bhaktya prapanna varada shusham. Now Kardama Rishi, all these Prajapatis, before they took up their particular job that was given to them, the first thing that they do is Punya Nadi Saraswati. They go to the banks of Saraswati Nadi and then perform their penance so that they can gather up enough tapobala, enough energy to direct to that particular chore, to that particular job that is given to them. Or else, I have heard this, they will be like Bengali. You know why? Because there are Chatterjees, Mukherjees, Banerjees, but no energies. We will also be like those people who take more breaks than do any kind of job. Like when kids come here and say, Swamiji, I have this NSC. Is it called NSC? Some service that they have to do for certain hours and they need somebody to sign. Give me some work. I said, okay. Dig holes for my plants so that I can plant them. One hole little bit that they dig. Swamiji, can I have some Gatorade? I hardly have started work. Okay, मैं तुम्हारी सर्विस करते बैठूंगा. You have come here to offer your service. I said, okay, I am ready for that also. Go get your Gatorade from the refrigerator. And then do what? Do they do? Then while that Gatorade, 1 hour is gone, drinking that Gatorade and having their talk. Some fun. And then another little 1 inch, 2 inch. Swamiji, we are done. We are tired. You have never put such an effort. So when the job is done, it should be so meticulously done that nobody is required to watch on you how far you have done, how good you have done. And to find such volunteers is a great task. In running a institution, organization or something, to find a volunteer to whom you have given a job. Sometimes the job is not done and then you call them up and find out, oh, I tried but it didn't happen. So batana to chahiye. Inform us back that it was not possible. Oh, I thought you would get the news. Have you done it? I was thinking of going, not yet done also. And there are some, they are such, I should say, restless or hyperactive, that unless you give them work, the other work cannot progress further. They have to be given certain work just to avoid the nuisance value. And later, to cover them up, train another 5-6 people. जहाँ जहाँ टेढ़े मेढ़े जाता है उसको सीधा करते जाओ. Then Swamiji, why do you give work to such person? Because if you don't give, the nuisance value is high. So you weigh, give them a job and cover it, or get that nuisance value. So this is easier to handle. These Prajapatis were such a dedicated souls that when they were given a job, first thing that they did is at the Punya Nadi Saraswati, they would come and perform their tapasya. Now Brahmaji gave them the task. What is the task? Prajakanksha. Go, procreate and expand this universe. Now with that, he went into the Saraswati Nadi and then Sahasranam Samadasha Tapastepe. He did tapascharya. For how many years? For just about 10,000 years. Just about 10, Sahasra Dasha, Sahasranam Dasha. Just about 10,000 years he did tapasya. And then Tataha Samadhi Yuktena Kriya Yogena Kardamaha Samprapede Harim. He had a darshan in his Ekagra Chitta. Shri Murti, Bhagavan himself present. And looking at that Nirmala form of the Lord, he had herbalations all over. Choked voice. And first time he found that tears could swell in your eyes without a reason. They are the tears of joy. Not that he was sad having those tears, they were tears of joy just flowing out. So he just stood there watching the Lord in his darshan. He was sitting on Kiritinam Kundalinam Shanka Chakra Gadadharam Shvetotpala Kridanakam Manasparsha Smitekshanam. How was he? He was wearing his usual stuff. Shanka Chakra Gadapadma. Shanka Chakra Gadadharam. Kiritinam Kundalinam. There was that big kirit on his head, and then had his 4 hands, all 4 hands busy. Shanka Chakra Gada Padma, all 4 hands busy. Shvetot Pala Kridanakam Manasparsha Smitekshanam. And then his smile was so beautiful. And in one hand was his Shveta Utpala. Utpala is the lotus that blooms at night. Utpala is a lotus, but that kind of a lotus which blooms at night. So he was having that tender, beautiful flower in his hand, and with a beautiful smile, he was looking at Kardama Rishi. To such Bhagavan, Kardama Rishi, who was so filled with joy joy immeasurable, started speaking. O Bhagavan, the one who is worthy of worship is you alone. If at all we need to ask something from somebody, it is you that we have to approach in asking, instead of asking those people who in turn ask you. Remember that famous story that a beggar used to come down to Akbar's place, and Akbar used to very proudly give him, take these 2 coins. Every day morning it was a ritual. He would come out of his Ibadat Khana. You know what is Ibadat Khana? A mosque or a worshipful place. Ibadat is worship. Ibadat Khana, it is not Khana. Khana means a place. So he would come out of his worshipful place and then give this beggar a handful of coins and then feel good that my day started with helping somebody. So one day that beggar came in little early. उसके बाकी घर भी जाना था ना, he had to cover other areas, new area codes. So he came in little early and found that Jahapana was still worshipping. So instead of waiting at the threshold, he went into the Ibadat Khana because he knew now everybody there. He was such a regular customer. So all the people who were waiting on the king to come out, so they gave him a high five and we went inside, only to hear the king praise to that Lord that, "O Lord, it is because of your mercy and power that I am what I am. Keep showering your grace and blessings." And he found that the king himself was asking that Lord. So this beggar returned back. And the king was feeling little restless that he did not give his morning alms. He found that beggar, went into his house and said, "Why did you not come? Take." It had become such a habit to him now. He said, "I don't care, I don't need. I have stopped, I have given up my profession. I have given up my profession of begging." So what do you mean? They say, "You yourself beg from somebody, and why should I beg from somebody who is already begging? I would rather beg from the Lord himself, who would give much more than what I expect. He is like the mother of this universe, who would never allow his own children to go hungry." So Karta Maharishi is also giving us in the same detail that, "O Lord, you are the only one who is worthy of worship. Nobody else and nothing else in this world is worthy of worship." Some of us worship people, some of us worship Lakshmi ji, some of us worship Lakshmi who is with somebody else, somebody's money, we worship somebody's fame. We want to get into their good books so that we can use their good offices for our benefit. What they call here, lobby. You can get into the lobby and lobby for your particular thing. We have different kinds of systems, political systems. What we call illegal there is made legal here. That is only difference. There if you lobby, it is illegal, but still it gets done the same way. Here you can legally lobby. So instead of trusting or believing in somebody else, "O Lord, it is worthy that I believe in you. And my father has given me this job of becoming a grihastha. And I have spent my last 10,000 years in complete focus unto you. Now I trust in you to provide me with a suitable girl." Wow. Whom did he go and ask for a girl? Directly the Lord. ऐसे वैसे नहीं चाहिए मुझे, तुम चुन के दो. Because when the Lord decides and gives you, you the best. So the Lord looked at him and said, Bhaiya, you asked the right person, and in one desire, one question of yours, vara of yours, you are both taking care of your father's dream and your devotion fulfilled. So let me bless you that you have done so much of aradhana and so much of meditation for so many years. I am so pleased with you. I understand what you have in your heart. Day after tomorrow, parso, day after tomorrow, you will find that in this very Bindusara Punya Kshetra, Bindusara is the place where Saraswati Nadi merges. So in this Punya Kshetra will come by this Prasiddha Samrat. Who is he? Swayambhu Manu. He will come with his wife and also his daughter. He in fact is searching for somebody who is choicest groom, choicest boy for his daughter. And you have asked the right thing right now. I will make sure that day after tomorrow they come by this place. And they have the daughter who is, this comes in the 26th shloka. Vayashila gunanvitam. She is of the appropriate age with great virtues and qualities. Mrugayantim patim dasyati anurupaya te prabho. She will be the right girl for you, for she has done her bit of tapascharya and also can help you in your further processes. Now, who did the match fixing? The Lord himself did this match fixing. Fixed this match, arranged. And then Lord says, you will have 9 daughters. You will have 9 daughters. Kardamaji was happy. My job, Lord has blessed me. And then he continues to say, wait Kardama, it is not yet done. He said, or? He said, yes. Because in your earlier kalpa you had a desire to have me as your child. So that will be fulfilled in this lifetime. For you and Devahuti, the daughter of Swayambhu Manu, Manu Nandini, I will be born as a son. And he says, Lord, after that responsibility is done, can I completely devote my time, energies, only focusing on you? The Lord waits for a while and says, you can, but the day you are getting engaged, you explain that to the father of the girl who is in search of a good boy. And then with his permission and the permission of your wife, you can leave and focus completely on God. Thus having gotten instructed, Kardama Rishi again started spending his time in that Saraswati Nadi Tira into his meditation, but this time his meditation was slightly on a different topic. Probably he was singing, Baharo Phool Barsao. He was singing to the nature. He was so overwhelmed that the Lord himself had blessed that his wife to be would come there and he would get married. So as he was waiting there, 2 days passed by. Maitreyi says that Manu came by with his wife and child, his Kanya. This is in the 45th shloka. Pravishyati varam adirajas sahatmajaha dadarsha munimasinam tasmin hutashanam. As they were coming in, he just had completed his evening oblations. Evening karma, Sandhya karma he had just completed. He got up and then paid tributes to the king, and the king was welcomed in a most royal way as capacity of the saint, ascetic who was sitting there. Now this Manu observes this Kardama Rishi. How is he? He has been like in penance for a long time, that can be seen, because he had all this jata and his body had become very lean. But in spite of that, his eyes were shining, his body was glowing with the tapobala. So he inquired into, "Bhai, kaun jaat ke ho bhai? Whom do you belong to? Who is your father? Tell me about your whereabouts." He said, "I am Kardama. I am his son." And having heard this, he comes directly to the point. He arranges everything for Manuji, and then, "Hey Deva," this is in the 50th shloka. He says, "Nunam chankramanam deva satam samrakshanayate vadhaya cha satam yatvam harehe shaktir palini." He directly inquires, and his way of inquiring, this is how Sajjana Purusha give the instructions also. Now he is a king who comes. He says, "In your rule, I am sure that everybody is living a righteous life. And anybody who is not leading a righteous life, I am sure that you are personally taking care that they lead a righteous life. And in order that this be executed, I am sure that you are vigilant and traveling all over and acquiring lots of frequent flyer numbers. Flying all over, moving all over the globe, wherever is your Rajya expanded, so that you can instill dharma in everybody, and that adharma does not take any shape. Hope that parents are doing their duty towards the children, children are doing their duty towards the parents," and he gives the complete dharma shastra, saying, "In your rule, I am sure all this is happening." It could be taken in two, three meanings now. If the king who has come is not following, this is the instruction to that king. If the king is already following, this is like recognizing what the king is doing. Even if the king is already doing it, recognizing it, and then blessing it, which is tapobala. So it is an instruction manual, it is a recognition and a blessings given by the Mahatma. Having said this, Manuji as he has come into that place, Kardama Rishi looks at him and says, knowing very well what Lord has said. So he asks Manuji, "May I inquire into the reason of your coming here?" Then Manuji looks at him and says, "In this creation of Brahmaji, I was searching for a right person for my daughter. I have found you to be the right person for my daughter in all perspectives. Now when you look at around that Saraswati Nadi Tira, what Kardama Rishi has as assets is nothing. Na gaadi hai, na bangla hai, na naukar hai, chakar hai, na bank balance hai. Nothing that he has. But it is with that Brahma Teja that he can see on Kardama Rishi. He says, you are the fit one. And I am sure my daughter will also be fit in marriage to you. When our Kardamji heard this, he said, if on your suggestion your wife and daughter do not have objection, I don't mind marrying your daughter. So for the first time it seems, I have to go through Bhagavat, right? For the first time Devahuti looks at Kardama Rishi. जरा तिरछी नजर से देखा उन्होंने, पलक उठा के देखा उन्होंने. Sometimes when these poets, their poetry, when you see how beautifully they have captured that feeling in the words which sometimes we are not able to express. You might have heard this song, Palak band kar loon, jhalak hi na jaye. So she looked at Kardamaji and then quickly closed her eyes. For two reasons. Because she was shy. And second, that beautiful form that she had just seen, she didn't want to forget, she didn't want to miss that form. So she quickly closed her eyes to register that form in her heart. Now when Manu saw this with his own daughter, chalo, she has no problem, objection, she has approved. Then he looked at his wife. His wife did not, Aji sunte ho, and take him aside and talk to him separately. She was eagerly waiting that this match be fixed. This boy was looking so handsome and worthy enough. So he says, Kardamaji says, that I am ready to accept your daughter as my wife through the Brahma Vidhana. In Manusmriti it is said that marriages between two people can be of they are of 8 different varieties. So when people ask, Swamiji, is love marriage good or arranged marriage good? First of all, कुछ तो कृपा करो, किससे पूछ रहे हो? Have some mercy on me. Because that is one field that I know nothing of. But I only wish for one thing, whether it be a arranged marriage or a love marriage, it better be a successful marriage. Though the marriages are made in heaven, the understanding is made down to earth. Without that down to earth understanding of each other, that which is made in heaven, as somebody said, though marriages are made in heaven, the residence is in hell. You can make it a hell like an experience if you do not have that down to earth understanding, down to earth living, and you confuse with a lot of anticipations, expectations. So I read a very long time ago a simple definition of marriage. When the boy gives 60% in that relation and expects 40, and the girl in her turn gives also 60% and expects 40, that relation is a healthy relation. How? In any equation, the moment you are giving is more than what you are expecting. In in any relation, when giving is more than anticipating and expecting, that equation is a healthy relation. The moment the equation changes, that I expect more than what I give, gadbad ho jata hai. Then people take out all books of rules and regulations. I did this, why don't you do that? See, when there is love, there is no comparison. Things happen because there is love. When there is no love, I clean the dishes, you load the dishwasher. I remove the dishes from the dishwasher, you put them in the racks. I cut the vegetables, you cook the vegetables. I buy the vegetables, you load them into the refrigerator. I load the, what do you call that? Laundry, and you do the ironing. I drop the kids, you pick the kids. If there is always this, comparison of how much I have done and how much you have to do, there is a wrong equation. When you both come to an understanding wherein, probably in the initial stages because of the Kama Vasana, you are mad for each other. As long as you are not mad at each other. How long will you be mad for each other? Those all famous dialogues. प्रिय जब तुम होती हो तो ना खाना चाहिए, पानी चाहिए, ना नींद चाहिए, ना आराम चाहिए, बस तुम रहो वही काफी है. It has been observed on an average 1.5 to 2 years. And then she has her own dining time, eating time, sleeping time. He has her own schedule, separate, different. And then even if they are close, I need my own space. Don't get onto my nerves. Give me my space. Fine. As long as you are not mad at each other. This mad for each other should grow to such an acceptance level wherein you understand that you may fight, you may quarrel, you may argue, you may have discussions, but you are made for each other. Just because there are these differences of opinion, it should not mean that there are differences in love. But opinions become so strong that the values become diluted. I say so, so you have to listen, is the expectation. Ho gaya. SN. You know what is SN, right? Satyanash ho gaya. Completely destroyed. So whatever be the format of marriage, if you come to that basic understanding that you are made for each other, knowing each other, that there can be arguments, there can be discussions, but that uniform love wherein you accept, not just in spite of, including of those arguments and discussions. ठीक है, arguments है तो है, but we still love each other. That kind of understanding. And when you find that kind of understanding, such people, I call them SQC. They are called sweet quarreling couple. Because they know for each other that this chutput kind of quarrels mean nothing. Because there is a deep understanding for each other. They are there backing each other forever. That is called made for each other. To grow to such a level is what is the promise that they make to each other, dharme cha, arthe cha, kame cha, nati charami. One is left independent. The other three purusharthas is a joint account. Dharma, righteousness, artha, wealth, kama, desire. Both of you have to be in sync for achieving different purposes in life. Moksha is independent account. For dharma, artha, kama, whatever the husband does, 50% of it, punya, goes to the wife. Whatever papa he does, not even an ounce, not even a little percentage goes to the wife or kids. The papa retains. Now on the other side, when the wife does any punya in artha kama, dharma, some of it might go to the children as samskara punya. Most of it is retained by the wife, nothing is given to the husband. But if the wife does any papa, immediately half of it goes to the husband. हाँ जी, अबे संतोष कीजिए ना, हर चीज का why क्यों? That is what is decided. Take it as a baseline and move forward. नहीं, आपके लिए घाटे का सौदा है, उनके फायदे का सौदा है. Because wife or the husband is the one who is called bharta, the one who has to rakshana, poshana, palana as a responsibility. He cannot make a mistake. Whereas bharya is the one who has to be taken care of. That is the vow in the marriage. That is why in Ramayana it is said that Kaikeyi is in the Shoka Griha with her hair open. So Dasharatha, finding that, he says, अरे ये पाप मुझे क्यों चढ़ाते हो? मैंने क्या नहीं किया तुम्हारे लिए? With her hair open, a married woman is to have her hair plaited. Even by keeping it open, the papa, or by cutting it, the papa, you can directly give it to husband. So the wives were like indicating that we are not happy with you by keeping the hair open. Anyway, that is the dharma that I am not going much in detail right now. Coming back. So there are 9 different kinds of marriages. Whatever be the marriage, it should be a successful marriage. What are the marriages? I'll just tell the names. I'm not going into details of each marriage and what it is. One is called Brahma. Brahma, wherein both sides, the bride and the bridegroom's side, have liked each other, not just the boy and girl, but the whole family as such. And there is a mutual consent to get their children married. It's called the Brahma. Next one is Daiva. Arsha, Prajapatya, Asura, Gandharva, what we call today as love marriages, wherein no varna, ashrama, nothing is seen. And the logic is, love is blind. It can happen any time. If my argument is love is blind, how could it have happened at the first sight? And somebody said, it was after that first sight that love became blind. Which makes sense now. Anyway, that is called Gandharva Vivaha, is the love marriage. Then we have Rakshasa, Paishacha. These are all different kinds of marriages. It is not married to Rakshasa, married to Pishacha. Rakshasa Vivaha is wherein you abduct abduct forcefully without the will of that girl and force her into marriage is called Rakshasa. There are other definitions and shades between Asura and Paishacha also. I'll stop here. जो भी है तुम्हारा झंझट है, मेरा नहीं है. Now, after having given his word, he looked at both Manuji and Shatarupa and said, Maharaj, you are a daughter who, if people have not seen Lakshmi Devi, she is like the Lakshmi Devi in the Bhuloka. So who would not consent to marriage for such a beautiful, well-raised child as yours? So I am all ready to marry such a daughter of yours. But I have my one promise or one condition. What is that condition? As soon as she has few kids, as ordained by Brahmaji, I will be taking up the path of sannyasa. Is this okay by you, your wife, and your girl who would be getting married to me? तब की बात है ना, देख लेंगे. First you have to give birth to this many kids and do all the kriya. So we are okay. So Devahuti also said, it's fine. Papa, आप जो कहते हो वही सही. So she also agreed. Mangalyam tantuna anena mama jivana hetuna. Tantuna anena, with this thread of Mangalya. Mangalya tantuna anena. Sometimes while listening to this mantra back in Andhra, where we are from Andhra, sometimes we used to get a different meaning out of it. Tantuna means kicking you. When I did not understand Telugu, Sanskrit, I used to think, why are they having this mantra as such a pavitra mantra for getting married? And that mantra says that I am going to kick you. And having seen couple of examples when I was young, I thought that is what they mean maybe. Mangalyam tantuna anena. Tantuna means with a thread. Anena, with this one. Mama jivana hetuna. I am accepting the responsibility of her as my wife. And the wife also says, Badam. I also agree in accepting him as my responsibility. If you are responsible for yourself, that is when you are capable of being responsible for somebody else. Mama jivana hetuna kanthe badhnami shubhaketum mama jiva sharadam shatam. I do. For whatever, health or in sickness. So there were these small kids playing marriage. So there was a boy, there was a girl, and then there was a pastor. They were all kids. So this pastor said, in health or sickness, this boy, not pastor, this boy said, in health or sickness. The girl very promptly said, in health. In sickness, you take care of yourself, I don't care. In richness or poor, definitely richness. So it is not a choice, but whatever be the condition, we act now from here as one unit. So they got married. Now what did they do after they got married? Our Manu and Shatarupa gave them lots of presents and gifts. right from the minutest. What did Kardamji have? Nothing. Shayya vasanam bhutalam ajinam vasaha. He had nothing. He used to live under a tree, sleep on the floor, and eat kandamula phala. He didn't care for anything because he was in penance. And as Devahuti got married to Kardama, they thought, along with him, हमारी बेटी का कुछ ख्याल रखना चाहिए. So they gave lots of benefits and gifts. एक लो एक मुफ्त. So they had lot of gifts and presents, which were not asked by Kardama Rishi, which in today's generation has become such a demand, wherein like you go into the market, mall, right? You give them money, you buy certain thing. Now what you do with that which you have given money and purchased is your choice, right? Logic so far clear? Now if the girl's father gives money, so whose right is it to use the boy? तो घर का भांडी बर्तन सब कौन करना चाहिए? It is to the wish of the lady. It is a wrong system wherein dowry has become such a main thing that there are dowry deaths and dowry tortures for paltry little amount. Couple of hundreds of thousands of rupees, and then there are deaths and tortures. This is something that by free will that the parents of the girl give for the comfort of the girl and to be maintained as the assets of the girl. That also is said in Manu Dharma Shastra, that whatever is given is as the assets of the girl. If anything has to be used or sold, it should be with the permission of the girl. Very systematic way, but it has been misused, as can be any system. Like here also we have tax laws. As March approaches, what do the CS do here? Find loopholes for your particular case so that they can pay least amount. Meaning if there are rules, there are people who are there bent only for breaking the laws. And when they have mastered it, it can get corrupted to any level. Similarly in the system. So this is not a dowry, but it was gifts given by the parents to Devahuti. After Devahuti and not Devahuti, sorry, Shatarupa and Manu left, Manu Nandini was doing different kinds of upachara and seva to Kardama Rishi as Parvati did tapasya for Shivaji, service to Shivaji. Having seen that Devahuti was serving so well without any kama vasana, dambha, dvesha, lobha, papa, mada, nothing, without expecting any kind of appreciation from Kardama Rishi, with lot of dedication, with lot of purity, as she did. It comes in the 23rd chapter, 3rd shloka. Vishrujya kamam dambham cha dvesham lobhamagham madam apramattodyata nityam. Apramattaha. She was so alert and careful in observing every single thing that is required by Kardama Rishi. She worshipped him as Ishvara. Yes, पति परमेश्वर होता है अगर पति ऐसा हो तो. No doubt that she worshipped him as the Ishvara himself, because he also was that sattvic in nature. Without seeing that part, the husbands expect that, I have to be treated like a Parameshwara. It is of a wrong equation, wherein you have given nothing. 60%, 40%. That is the equation always to remember. So having seen her work, Kardamji felt little soft on Devahuti ji. Why? In taking care of him, she had become so thin, neglecting her own physique, neglecting her own health. She was taking care of Kardam Rishi and his penance. And one day he calls Manunandani, Devahuti, and says, "You have taken care of me so well. I am pleased. Not only that, I understand your Manoratha. I understand your feeling. I can read your mind." He said, "Let me take you on a divine ride." With his yoga shakti, he created an aircraft. Aircraft which was golden aircraft with beautiful decoration of all different stones, precious stones. No semi-precious, only precious stones. Chandeliers made of vajra. And then the tips of it, where the light really came out, the jyoti, had different colored stones. Like there was one which was golden, there was one which was silver color, and they're all precious stones. There was one which was red. If I'm not wrong, ruby is red. Then there is emerald, and it had different glowing lights. A beautiful looking aircraft that was created. And he said, "Why don't you join me in?" Devahuti ji looked at her husband and said, "It looks so beautiful and pure. Look at me, shabby. I feel little apavitra to enter there." So she was like, feeling bad that she was not qualified almost in entering there. He said, "Don't worry. Go into that Bindusara lake. Refresh yourself." And as he said, and she turned into that Bindusara lake, to her surprise she found that there were thousands of these young damsels sitting there. As soon as she walked in, they all stood up. "Maharani, whatever is your order." And then they gave a beautiful bath to her, decked her up from toe to the top with every inch with such beautiful, delicate ornaments all over her. And she was wearing such beautiful cloth that her original glory as Manu had given her to Kardama Rishi could be seen back in her. And as she was seeing all this, she understood the yoga shakti of her husband, and she was wowed. She was awestruck looking at the yoga maya of her husband. "मेरे पति कुछ कम नहीं है, हाँ?" अरे वाह! And she was so feeling happy and satisfied. And as she came out, after her snana, abhyanga snana and everything done, Vidurji says, "Satam kritamala snanam vibhrajantim apurvavat atmano bhibratim rupam samvita ruchirastanim." As she took bath and came out, to Vidurji, Maitreya Rishi is saying, "Oh Vidura, she was looking so pretty that Kardamaji, who was already in the Vimana, suddenly froze looking at her." The first glance that they had in love. And they both almost like stopped everything else, they were just staring at her. And as she realized, this is what is the poetry given here. As she realized that they both were staring at each other, felt a little shy, bent her head and started digging with her toes into the earth. Hota hai? Have you seen, with her legs into the floor and not been able to keep up with the looks of Kardama Rishi. Then Kardama Rishi stepped forward, gave his hand, invited her on board. Please join Air Kardama. Like Air India, Air Canada, Air America, American Air. I said Air Kardama. And then as she stepped in, she saw that there were plenty more servants. It was a multi-decked flight, wherein there was a quarter for cooking chambers, and there were people working there. There were quarters for taking care of Kardamji. There were people who were employed for taking care of her. There are people employed for cleaning up this whole thing. There are people who were ready for each part of it. There were so many servants, and they were like living in their own kingdom. That whole flight was like a big kingdom which had its own praja, and Kardama and Devahuti were like the king and queen for that flight. Having taken her, he said, to the flight, it was Manoratha. Ratha that would go with the speed of your thought. You think of a place and it would go there. Almost like defeating any other Deva Ratha, surpassing their speeds and beauty, glory. This Ratha would go to different places. So first thing that he did was took her to the Meru Parvata valley. It was such a beautiful valley, wherein it had all amazing kinds of flowers blossoming, and it was a Nitya spring season. Such beautiful little leaves, red leaves all over, and then they had different kinds of flowers, different kinds of birds. All nature was in its splendor, in its amazing beauty. If you have ever gone to a place in Himalayas called Valley of Garden, there is, while you are going towards Badrinath, on the right hand side there is one Pipal Koti. Pipal Koti is the place where King Pandu, after having given his kingdom, settled down to perform his later part of Tapascharya with Madri. And from there, when you go on to the top, what is today recognized as the Tapasthali of Guru Nanak is where he had done tapas, Pandu. So in that place, from that it is called Hemkund Sahib now. That Hem Sarovar is now called Hemkund Sahib, where Guru Nanak ji is supposed to have done Tapascharya. From there you have to walk further few miles into Valley of Garden, and once you enter into that valley, it is an experience beyond words. Amazing spread. It's like a beautiful, colorful carpet, designed, nurtured, and laid down meticulously by God. Like when you go to Grand Canyon, the grandness of it just wows you. The splendor of colors is so amazing that your mind freezes. It's so vast, so beautiful, and the color combinations is never ever you have seen again. They say this Kuberji's valley is the Meru Parvata is 100,000 times better than this valley of flowers. So imagine how beautiful it could have been. And they had the closest view, but an aerial view. Like, even in your offices, you have cubes. If you are in a better position, like I don't know which level you get, a view, office with a view. When you are a project manager, you get an office with a view. Manager level. Or when you are a VP or a CFO, CEO, CTO, you get that view in your office. And people brag about it. Wow, you have an office with a view? Normally there are those high-rise buildings and the whole downtown you could see, the whole city you can see. And within the city there is a lake and there is a beautiful green patch around that lake and you have that view from the top. Imagine all around is nothing but flowers. So in such a valley, he took her first. And then from there, he took her to Vaishrambhaka, Surasana, Nandanavana, Pushpabhadra, Chaitra-ratha, and en route all this, they reached Manasa Sarovar. Flight, huh? Chopper flight. Even today I think they have started the chopper services to Manasa Sarovar. They had it. Kya aish ki zindagi hai? And then they were in that Manasa Sarovar enjoying that Devatas and Apsaras and Gandharva, they are all coming there having their snana and then they are having their singing, not in a very arranged systematic pattern, but out of joy they would be singing, and from here, like a different city altogether, different kingdom altogether, from the prime balcony, Devahuti and Kardama Rishi would be enjoying all this from their beautiful Manoratha. After this whole thing was done, they lived like this. Don't you feel this is some kind of a no, I wouldn't like to call this a honeymoon. This is a very short term. There it is nothing but kama vasana there. But here it is something, such a splendor, wherein they stayed together, but the time that had just gone by appeared only like moments. And then Kardamaji turned to Devahutiji because he knew what was the blessings of the Lord, that he will have 9 daughters. So he did the Garbhadana. Garbhadana is a sacrificial act or a sacred act wherein it is not the act of a kama vasana but to procreate the next generation, that he did the dana of the virya into the garbha, that is called the Garbhadana. And then she was in due course mother of 9 beautiful children. And one side she was happy that she had 9 beautiful kids, 9 daughters. The other side, there was something bothering her. No, that was not the concept then, that they had to have a son. She was not bothered about not having a son. She was worried. Why? What was his promise? The moment the children are born, he would quit and go back to sannyasa. And she was feeling so bad within, she didn't know how to approach this topic. With lot of courage and willpower, she suppressed her tears within her eyes and then looked at her husband, Aji sunte ho? And then immediately put her head down, because if he would look into her eyes would swell with tears and she would start crying. She immediately put her head down. And then Nakhamani Shriyaha Bhumim Pada Likhanti Adhomukhi. Adhomukhi, facing downwards. She started pressing hard in tension, in pain with her Nakhamani. Nakhamani is her foot toenails. She started digging again into the earth in tension. not able to express her feelings. And Devahuti said in a very dispassionate tone, with lot of vairagya, she said, Lord, I have spent my past so many years with you without any focus on Paramatma or any other supreme thought in my heart. But as it is said, if your sangatya, if your attachment is towards somebody who is Duratma, you end up with bad results. But since I was attached to a Mahatma like you, I hope my results are something good to look for. Now I have these 9 kids to get married, and their responsibility, hope you will stay till they get married and you are there for the Kanyadana. And when these 9 kids are gone, Lord, you will also be gone. Is there a chance that I have somebody that I can look up to, or somebody who can look after me? So Kardamji understood. He said, Tathastu. He said, I am not going right now. Then he revealed to her what was the blessings of Narayana to him, that they would be blessed by Narayana himself. So in due course of time, Narayanji, with the help of the virya of Kardama Mahamuni, entered Devahuti. And it is said, normally even if somebody who is pregnant, there is a different glow on their face. There is a different shine on their face. With the Lord himself in her womb, she was glowing. Sometimes the bees, the bumblebee, would mistake her to be a lotus, bright, and keep wandering around expecting some madhu in her. She was that bright and shining because the Lord was in her womb. And soon, and this was way after their daughters were given in Kanyadana. So what happened? Brahmaji comes and he says, Beta. And who was Kardama Mahamuni? He was his own expansion. He said, Beta, to find a son like you is a blessing. Because you have done tapascharya, but unlike my first few sons, you also have given good helping hand to your father in expanding his vision. I am so happy with you. Now, the 9 daughters that you have, get them married to all these various Prajapatis. And he mentioned that inka rashi fal inse milta hai. You know, the horoscope. So Brahmaji matched their horoscope and said, get each one of them married to this. And here he says, you know, all great pairs, all great rishis that we hear of were son-in-law of Kardama Rishi. What a blessed soul he must have been. Okay, the first one. The first daughter was Kala, who was married to Marichi. Anasuya, who was married to Atri Mahamuni. Shraddha, who was married to Angira. See, we have lot of names, and you know, many people ask Swamiji, हमारे बेटी का क्या नाम रखें, बेटे का क्या नाम रखें. Find anything, choose from here. Kala married to Marichi, Anasuya to Atri, Shraddha to Angira, Havirbhu got married to Pulastya, and Pulaha got married to Gati, Kratu got married to Sadhvi, and Bhruguji got married to Khyati, Vasishtaji to Arundhati. Atharva Rishi got married to his girl named Shanti, and Kardamaji did a grand celebration for his daughter's marriages. And then was born to them after the marriage. Was born, there was a lot of age gap between the daughters and the son. Was born this great rishi. Param pradhanam purusham mahantam kalam kavim trivrutam lokapalam atmanubhutyanugatam prapancham swachhanda shaktim kapilam prapadye. While he was in the Garbha, Kapila Mahamuni gets a salutation from his father. O Lord, the one who is, this is in the 33rd sloka of 24th chapter. He says, O Lord, you are the Brahman Supreme, Pradhanam Purusham, and you are the one who has the complete Shakti over everything in this universe, Vyakta and Avyakta. Prakriti, Purusha, Mahat Tattva, Kala, everything is because of you. So Lord, to you, unto you, I prostrate. What a vichitrata, right? Father prostrating to the yoni where the Lord is still waiting to express, and he prostrates to him. And then, as he is born, before he leaves, Lord, the son, Kapila Mahamuni, blesses Kardama Rishi. He says, enough you have done for this creation. Enough. Now, retire from all this. Ekantavasi, you go into solitude. Gather up all your senses. Let your mind not waver. And do your prana bandhana and focus on the Lord. And thus focusing on me, go beyond the mrityu and establish yourself in the realization of your own conscious self. Having gotten the instruction from the sun god, from the God himself who was his son, he left for his further practices. Kardama Mahamuni left into the sannyasa marga. Vratam sa asthitaha maunam atmaika sharano munihi nissango vyacharat kshonim anagnir aniketanaha. What is sannyasa? Where there is no agni kriya, there is no more performance of homa, havana, yaga, yagna, nothing to be done anymore. You are sannyasta. And then aniketaha. It's also a good name, but I will not prescribe it for anybody. Aniketa. Aniketa, Niketa means somebody who has a home. Aniketa, somebody who has given up home. Now what is the highest form of attachment? Is attachment to home. What home are we talking about? Not the house that we are living in, but this house. This body, mind and intellect is where we are housed. But we consider that house to be ourselves. That is the greatest murkhata. He abandoned that bodily identification and led a serene life of a great sannyasi. Now as he left, now Kardama Rishi's chapter is done. Now Shaunakaji asks Sutaji, is he the same one who is famous for the Sankhya Shastra, who had given such beautiful description about the Tattva Shastra? So Sutaji says, this was the very question what Vidura asked Maitreya. So have patience and listen to the further part of the story. So Devahuti asks, you are called Brahman, you are called Bhagavan, but I call you my son. You know, maa ka mamkar alag hota hai. So she said, O Lord, O my son, For the past so many years living with your father in this particular duty of procreation, we were left to indulge in our senses. And now I can see very clearly that my ability on my indriyas and mana is not that great. And we are bound in this ajnana andhakara. So much that this deha, this house and this whole wealth and glory, we have started considering ourselves as this. So Mahamuni, you are the one who is extolled even in the Bhagavata. So why don't you remove this andhakara? Remember a small little son, mother who has lived for tens of thousands of years and now is waiting for jnana from Kapila Mahamuni. So Maitreji says, from here on, listen very attentively the great Shastra of Kapila Mahamuni. Yogaha adhyatmikaha pumsam mato nishreyasaya me atyanto paritaryatra dukkasya cha sukhasya cha. This Adhyatma Yoga, which is not talking about how to be sukha and how to beat the dukkha. It is something that takes you beyond sukha and dukkha, beyond the one who is eagerly waiting for more sukha and to remove dukkha. It is to take you beyond that in the most logical way. Talking about, Sankhya Shastra or Sankhya Shastra, it means the most logical approach. Tattva Vivechana. In fact, the Lord himself says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, this knowledge is for diluting the Linga Sharira. Diluting the Linga Sharira is, there comes a period in your sadhana wherein you can very clearly see that there is no necessity of ahankara. What does ahankara mean? Presence of kartrutvabhimana and bhoktruttvabhimana, doership and enjoyership. There comes a time wherein you can very clearly see that these two are absent. But that is not end in all. In the Karana Sharira, or which is called the Linga Sharira, there is still that Jivatva hanging. That Jivatva has to completely vanish, evaporate, which can happen only with Jnana Sadhana of analyzing and firming your knowledge, confirming your knowledge by experience and moving forward. That the erroneous identity of Jivatva can be dropped from the Linga Sharira. So this Tattva Vivechana in different facets, different angles, O Mother, I shall be explaining it to you, which will be the Karana for your moksha. So please listen with correct attentiveness and Shraddha. Thus, Kapila Mahamuni starts with the Kapila Gita. Gita, the knowledge that was given by Sri Kapila Mahamuni to Devahuti, which is later recognized as Sankhya Yoga. The whole of second chapter is the crux of this discussion between Kapila Mahamuni and Devahuti. See, I think the next 10 chapters, almost 10 chapters. This one has what, 35 chapters or 36 chapters? Tritiya Skanda, Trayastrimsha, okay, 33 chapters. So next 8 chapters. Next 8 chapters is the Tattva Vivechana of Kapila Mahamuni. I could have completed all that in one line, that this is Bhakti Yoga, this is Jnana Sara, this is the Ashtanga Yoga as prescribed today, or I could have continued it tomorrow. So I somehow felt that it was injustice to group all that and say it is done. And Lord himself, Lord Krishna himself has such a great emphasis on Sankhya Yoga that whole of second chapter, 72 slokas, he speaks nothing but Sankhya Yoga. So that I thought requires more attention. So tomorrow we will go through the Sankhya Shastra in detail with completeness. So we will end this yajna tomorrow. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. So tomorrow we meet at 7:30 in the evening after Aarti.